And with that, let's talk Chris the Birdman Anderson, because I was watching. Let's see if I can set this up for you nicely. Long story short is, how do I want to put this? You guys should know this. I'm from a little bitty town called Iola, Texas. I've talked about it early on in the podcast. You might even have to go to like episode 3 or 4 of the Least Dangerous Podcast to realize that. But Iola, Texas. It's a town of like 300 people. It's where I grew up. And I'm surprised there's only ever been like one famous person out of the town ever. And that is Chris the Birdman Anderson, who currently plays for the Miami Heat. He was also on the Denver Nuggets. He's mainly known for being like a white Dennis Rodman. Kind of like, I think that's fair. Like a white Dennis Rodman character. But yeah, he's from the high school I went to. As a matter of fact, I don't know why. My whole radio career, everywhere I've gone, whether it was in Manhattan, Kansas, or College Station, or in Waco, no matter what market I ended up in, I definitely ended up talking about the Birdman for a little bit, at least. Because, you have to. Most famous person from my hometown. I gotta mention the Birdman. Why not? But I remember I was like a freshman, maybe even 8th grade. I might have been 8th grade. The first time I ever drank alcohol, there used to be this little spot called the Y. And if you are a country person, you'll know that there are always areas where people go to drink that have little nicknames. If you're in the city, I notice people don't drink as much. I think it's probably because there's like cops. And that, that pretty much, like, what are you going to do? Like, there's cops and parents everywhere. But in the country, it's wide open spaces, lots of dirt roads, lots of nooks and crannies to fall down into in which to drink a lot of alcohol when you're underage. Plus, the cops, if they bust you, in a small town, they're all old school. So they're still kind of like, we'll take the kegs. You kids just be good. Enjoy your whatever illegal substance you have. We'll take the kegs. We'll load them up. The cops would take the kegs, probably drink them at the old cop house, whatever you call police station, which really wasn't a police station. It was called a constable. That's the law enforcement in a very small town. You just have a constable. And so the constable would drive around, would steal beer kegs, essentially from minors, drink the beer at the constable's office, and let the minors go free. And also, like, you never really had to worry so much because, okay, so you're a city person, you're in an apartment, you're having a house party, you get busted, you're underage. There's nowhere to run. I mean, what are you going to crawl out a window? And even then, there's probably still going to be cherries and berries somewhere right around the corner. But in the country, if they bust a pasture party, there's about 70 acres. You can you could literally just run up into inside of a cow's ass and they wouldn't be able to get you. You're just gone. Where am I going? I'm going to go up a cow's ass and they won't be able to find me. So many places to hide. So many places to be. So in the country, you would always drink in these weird, like, nickname spots. So there was a place called Double Gates, which I never went to. I wasn't cool enough to go to Double Gates. I don't know what Double Gates was. And then there was this other place called the Y, which was the first place I ever had a drink. So I went to the Y, and what the Y was, the reason it's called a Y, is because it's just 3 dirt roads meet. That's it. It forms like a Y. I guess it's 2 dirt roads meet into one. The 2 roads become one. Where 2 paths diverged, there was only 1 path left, or I guess 1 path diverged into 2. However you want to put it. It was a Y. All right, you got it. That was the first place I ever had to drink at. And what happened is we went, I was staying at this buddy of mine's house, and he lived about maybe a mile from the Y, and he was inside of the Iola city limits. The Y was like down, you had to go like down behind a church and walk down this dirt road like another mile, and then you were essentially there. So we walked down, sneak out 1 a.m. You do the thing where you take the sheets and you put it over a pillow and you try to put shoes out and make it look like, oh, he's sleeping with his shoes on. But you try to make it look like you're in there. Maybe you put a tape recorder on that you've recorded yourself, like some sleeping noises on, something like that. And that sounded more like a man in an iron lung. It sounded like that's a man on his deathbed. But anyway, so you staged the scene, you've made it look like you're asleep, you've recorded sleeping noises, and you go sneaking off into the dark of the night to find the Y, where there's going to be underage drinking. So We go down to the Y. Me and my buddy, I'll call him Terry. You guys don't know who he is. So me and my buddy Terry, we go down to the Y and get down there, and everybody sees me like, I mean, here's the thing. In a small town, I was a preacher's kid, a PK, as they called it. So being a preacher's kid, being the first time ever to be somewhere where there's drinking, they were like pretty jacked. They were like, preacher's kids here? This is about to be, we're going to get him drunk. We're going to make this kid drink. So next thing I know, within like 5 minutes, I've got a beer bong like shoved down my throat with Smirnoff Ices. And guess who's dumping the Smirnoffs? Guess who's the guy feeding the beer bong? Chris the Birdman Anderson. Literally fed me my first beer. And he's like 7 feet tall, and he's doing the beer bongs, and I'm trying to take him and be cool. By the way, I didn't do that well. I did the thing where I used to try this trick. I thought I could really do good beer bongs if I did the chipmunk trick, which the chipmunk trick, I only tried twice, didn't work either time. It's the idea that if you just let all the alcohol go into your cheeks and you just stretch them and stretch them and stretch them and stretch them out, and you just kind of fill them like two like water balloons, that you can take a lot more alcohol. And then later on, you know, I don't know what I was thinking. At some point you'd have to swallow or spit, but that's what she said. But I ended up just spewing. That's what happens. My cheeks they're not that stretchy. So it didn't go that far. Next thing you know, I'm spewing and everyone's laughing at me, including the Birdman. So the Birdman, long story to get to the Birdman, from my hometown, fed me my first beer. I thought about calling Dr. Grant, but I thought he may not share the story with you. He, at some point, for a brief period of time, I'll tell the story and he can tell me if I'm wrong. For a brief period of time, Dr. Grant lived with the Birdman, and I'm pretty sure saw his hog, and has told me that his piece was everything you think it would be for a 7 foot tall person. I don't know why I'm sharing that with you. I am, but that's what he said. So that's a story Dr. Grant maybe can tell. Long story short is a lot of experiences with the Birdman in my hometown, so I know the dude. So the fact that he later on became a famous basketball player, and he's the only person from Iola to become famous, it's a pretty big deal. Pretty interesting, pretty neat. So let me give you a quick background. He went to, right out of high school, he got a degree or a scholarship to go play at like this big university in Houston. And then they saw his grades and they were like, well, we can't offer him the scholarship. So he went to the community college that later on I went to, referred to as Blinn College. Everybody called it Blender Garden. Went to Blinn College, became a basketball player, then went to China, then joined the minor leagues in the States, then became a Denver Nugget with a 10-day contract, turned that into a much longer one, and the story writes itself. Next thing you know, he's on the Miami Heat playing with LeBron James. So I was trying to think where I was going with that. Where was I going? This is professional. So anyway, the Birdman, that's how he became who he is today. So whenever I would go somewhere, because that's how he got famous, I would always, in the radio stations, when I was like hosting morning shows and stuff, I'd always play the Birdman Mattress King commercial from when he was on the Denver Nuggets. This was probably his first thing that he ever did, was this Mattress King commercial. So you got to check this thing out. All right. So I played this probably 100 times. Actually, at the beginning of the Least Dangerous podcast, when you hear that guy that goes, I'm Kenny the Blenda Rodriguez, he's one of the Harlem Globetrotters. And when I interviewed him in Waco, I did a podcast break with him where I played this Mattress King commercial for him. Because I was like, you know the Birdman? And he's like, oh yeah, I know the Birdman. I was like, watch this. And then we watched it and just laughed at the Birdman because this is ridiculous. So this is probably the first commercial the Birdman, Chris the Birdman Anderson, ever did for the Mattress King.
It's time to slam high prices with Mattress King's New Year's sale.
This is good stuff.
Hurry in now and get up to $800 in slamming savings on every...
The Mattress King is a huge company in Denver, Colorado. It's massive. It is as big as it gets as far as like local furniture sales go. So anyway, here's this guy. It's a kid at first talking about the Mattress King, but then we get a special guest appearance from the Birdman, and he does what I think he thought was going to be his catchphrase.
Simmons, Serta, and Stearns & Foster sleep set in the store. And don't forget to experience the Tempur-Pedic difference at Colorado's Tempur-Pedic headquarters. It's the most recommended bed in America.
Take it from me, the Birdman. Get in a good night's sleep.
that's obviously, that's my favorite part. I got to backtrack it just a hair here because it's just so good. Take it from me, the Birdman. Here, let's
Tempur-Pedic headquarters. It's the most recommended bed in America.
Relive this.
Take it from me, the Birdman. Getting a good night's sleep at Mattress King is a slam dunk every time.
It was like Coco Beware from the WWE show.
Remember, nobody beats the king. Nobody.
So there you go. That is the Birdman's Mattress King commercial. It was it was a sight to behold. But I played that everywhere, and everywhere I went, it was a hit. Everyone loved watching the Birdman Mattress King commercial. So imagine my surprise last week when I'm just watching a TV show. So what happened is I turned it into CNN. At first, it's like Wednesdays and Thursday nights. There's nothing great on TV, so I just watch the news most of the time. And CNN is typically what I watch because Fox is like really, Fox is like hard right-wing Republican shit, and MSNBC is like, if you want to know liberal stuff, that's where you go. CNN, I still like to see is that old faded middle line in the middle of the highway. It's kind of boring, but it's there for a reason. And that's why I tune into CNN. So I tune into CNN, and it just strikes me within tuning into 5 minutes that the news wants to, basically they're trying to start a race war. Because it was just all stories about like this cop, a white cop attacking a black kid, Islamophobia, like the racial divide. It's just everything that the news talks about within the first 5 minutes was just trying to start a race war in the country. And I was like, this is not good. Used to be, I thought you were really smart and informed if you watched the nightly news. Now I think you're like you're just a pseudo-intellectual. You're watching the news to feel like you're smart and informed, but if you actually buy into any of the stuff they're saying, you're not the smartest cookie in the batch, all right? That's all I'm saying. And so I was going like, hey, I should watch something different because this is too much. I don't want a race war. I don't want to watch. It's just going to depress me. What am I going to get out of this? So I ended up watching Catfish, this season 4 episode of Catfish. I think it was episode 6. And I haven't watched Catfish in a long time, ever since the original documentary came out. The documentary was great. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. But basically, catfishing is, for those that don't know, where a person sets up a fake Facebook profile, tries to date another person, they fall in love on the internet, only for the other person to find out that the person that they are in love with is not real. It's just a made-up profile by someone else. It's a very common thing. I know a guy who knows a guy. Sounds ridiculous, but I actually know a guy who knows a guy that's like a professional catfisher, and all he does is he tries to get dick pics, and then he collects them all for future blackmail purposes. Call a spade a spade. That's what he does. Won't name names, but I'm telling you, I know a guy who knows a guy. So turned it into Catfish, ready to watch the episode, and I was excited because on this episode, it was something that hit kind of close to home. So growing up in the College Station area, in Iola, you guys know Iola now, I've filled you in on that. So growing up in Iola, which is about 30 minutes away from College Station, when I tuned it into Catfish, it was about a couple in Bryan and a couple in Calvert. Both towns very close to where I grew up, and I've spent a lot of time in them. So I'm like, this is cool. This is like a hometown kind of show. It's cool when you watch TV, even cooler when you watch TV about a town that you have been around. So I was super jacked about this episode of Catfish. So we're locked in watching Catfish. And then out of nowhere in the middle of the episode, as if it wasn't awesome enough that it's about Bryan College Station and kind of the area I grew up in, that was cool enough. But then they go ahead and just complete the whole, they bring it full circle and really get me excited when they start exploring the profile pic of the chick that is catfishing this other guy. And well, they uncover something that I never expected.
The first thing we're clearly going to do is prove or disprove that the girl in the pictures is the girl he's talking to.
So just looking at her Facebook page right off the bat, let's see.
It's a lot of sexually suggestive pictures.
They're looking at these are the pictures of the chick that is catfishing the guy. This is when they start to realize this is all one big catfish.
Wow, 576 people liked this picture she posted. 1,000 people like this picture. Wow, she gets a lot of attention.
Let's run image search.
Here we go, first image.
There she is. Harris Roxanne.
There's a Facebook page. I mean, this feels like a fake account too.
So a lot of times what they do is they'll take an image, and I don't know how you do this, but they do like a Google image search. They drop that image into the Google image search, and it finds matching profiles. And they've now found that this Catfish profile matches about 80 others out there on the internet. So they're exploring this, and it's just about to get really, really good.
It's just tons and tons of pictures.
Yeah.
Here, look, see more results for Paris Roxanne.
I never could have guessed where this ends up. It blows my mind.
Oh, man.
Whoa.
Look at this one. Paris Roxanne, public figure.
It's got the most likes out of all of them.
Look, another one, public figure, 5,000. Another one, different, 41,000 likes.
So she's a very faked person. Like there's an Instagram.
It's got 132,000 followers.
Wow.
All right, so you're following along. They're really digging into it. They're like detectives. It's like Cagney and Lacey. They're figuring out what this profile pic is. They've now found the original Instagram account of the real person that all these fake Catfish Facebook profiles are based on, and that's when it gets really interesting.
This looks like a real Instagram account. It's got pictures of her with other people. It's got some videos. Let's do a Google search for Paris Roxanne. Whoa, what is this? The Birdman's Vengeful Ghost.
Boom! Boom! Did you hear that? Hold on, if you didn't hear that, let's just back that up just a hair here. This came out of nowhere, so unexpected. Check this out. This is really something here.
Whoa, what is this? The Birdman's Vengeful Ghost.
Birdman.
Last December, Shelley Lynn Chartier was accused of masterminding an elaborate web scam.
She began setting up fake Facebook profiles for a wide range of celebrities,
including Paris Roxanne.
Boom.
A 17-year-old aspiring model from just outside Los Angeles. And even a 35-year-old NBA player, Chris Birdman Anderson. Both Anderson and Roxanne believed they were sending each other messages and starting an intimate relationship.
So hold on a second. If you didn't catch that, there's this lady who's like a 40-year-old lady who has set up 2 different fake Facebook profiles. One for this real 17-year-old model called Paris Roxanne, and one for this real 35-year-old NBA player who you guys have heard me talk about now, the Birdman, Chris the Birdman Anderson. So this one lady has set up fake profiles for the both of them, and she's sending them messages from each other. So she's almost like acting as the middleman. She'll send a message pretending to be Chris the Birdman Anderson to Paris Roxanne, and then she'll get the message back, send that message to Chris the Birdman Anderson, and then he'll send the message back. So she's messaging them both, but she's like in the middle of it. So she's like doing like a really complicated catfish. This weird lady, the criminal, is in the middle, and she's sending a message from a fake profile to Paris that's pretending to be the Birdman. She gets the message back, and then she sends that message to the Birdman from a fake profile pretending to be Paris Roxanne. Is that making sense? It's complicated, I know, but it's crazy stuff. So that's what's going on. They dig a little deeper.
But their messages were being filtered through Chartier's fake profile pages, which meant she could manipulate any of their messages, and she did, often. Eventually, a meeting was arranged between Anderson and Paris Roxanne.
Now, this is a real meeting. Even though they're still having their messages intercepted by this weird catfish lady, the Birdman, who's real, and Paris Roxanne, who's real, decide to meet up together. They're still talking to each other just through this weird catfish person in the middle, so they decide they're going to have a meet and greet.
They spent a few days together in Denver, had consensual sex.
Points.
And then Roxanne went home. When the pair stopped communicating, Shelley Lynn lashed out like a scorned lover. She blackmailed Anderson for hush money by posing as Roxanne's mother. I know what you did, she told Anderson. The legal age of...
So the Birdman got a hookup out of this. He's 35, the chick's 17. I mean, but in Colorado, age of consent is 17, so he got away with it. But this chick starts blackmailing him.
In Colorado is 17. Anderson knew he hadn't broken any laws, but he decided that a small payoff was better than a public relations fiasco. So they agreed to send a nominal fee to an undisclosed location. Wow. District attorneys in Colorado.
I'm telling you, it was good enough this is in my hometown. It was good enough the episode was based in Bryan, Texas. Add to that it had the Birdman in it. I was like, it was like Def Comedy Jam at my house. I was running around, screaming, doing circles around the couch. I couldn't believe what had happened.
Filed 15 charges against Chartier. The trial won't be scheduled until 2015 at the earliest. Shelley Lynn set up, almost like Cupid, this famous basketball player and this 17-year-old girl from California. Their relationship ends. She gets upset, figures now that they've had sex, and one of them is very young, I can now use this against him. The bottom line is, whoever Felipe's talking to is using the pictures of this girl, Paris Roxanne.
She's been used as bait before in a catfish scheme.
That's it. Bam, right there. That's all you need to know. Holy crap. Yeah, the Birdman was catfished. That's it was really something, man. I was freaking out. I couldn't believe it. So I was very captivated by that whole thing. And then I found the Newsweek article, thanks to Wired Serial. I told him this story earlier this week, and he found the Newsweek article. And this is really, boy, this was Kevin Bacon, 60 Degrees of Separation like no other. Because I used to hang out with this. I used to hang out with this guy called Lazarus Long. And his name was Lazarus. I'm not kidding you. Lazarus. And so Lazarus's brother was named Zeke Boozer. Real guy. Lazarus Long's brother was Zeke Boozer. Used to hang out with these guys. And so then I pulled the Newsweek article. And in the Newsweek article that they wrote about the Birdman getting catfished, there was a quote from the one and only Zeke Boozer talking about Iola, Texas, because this was an in-depth article. So this is how it describes Iola. First, it says Iola was a small, crumbling town, a tiny speck. And this is the quote in Newsweek from Zeke Boozer. Nobody has high expectations here. Either you go to prison or you end up working in the oil field. That's it. That's what they have to say about where I grew up. I'm proud to say I'm not in prison, and the oil field has always been a plan B of mine. Though I won't lie. If things go sour, if literally 10 less people listen to this podcast, I'm probably going to be in the oil field soon. So Zeke has got a point. But when I read that Zeke Boozer was quoted in Newsweek, I just couldn't believe it. So this whole thing has blown my mind. And finally, that brings me to all the time that I've spent watching Birdman clips on YouTube, and I found what I consider to be the ultimate Birdman YouTube clip. He loves like being weird around reporters and making things awkward. And so this was literally the video on the internet. It's called the best Birdzilla video ever. Check out how awkward the Birdman is with this reporter.
Jason here now with Chris Anderson. Bird, I know you missed the last two games with the thigh contusion. Before Game 5, Spo said you had limited mobility. What have you been able to do the last couple days, and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. The last few days I've been trying to work the range of motion back into my leg.
So he's just talking. She's asking him how he's... By the way, I don't know what that background sound is, okay? I think this was a YouTube video that a dude was recording from his phone to the TV while like Ice Castles, the Disney movie, was playing in the background. But long story short is Chris the Birdman Anderson is basically, he's talking about an injury, but then he just starts trolling the reporter.
I'm trying to get the swelling out.
Yeah, and is the swelling gone down pretty good?
It's getting there.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think you feel?
Zilla.
I love that answer. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? Zilla. That's what he said. And we got to hear that again. You got to hear that one more time. Let's try to backtrack this bad boy.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think you feel?
Zilla.
Like Birdzilla.
Of course, like Birdzilla.
All right, let's talk about...
By the way, when she said that like Birdzilla, she holds I can't believe I keep having to backtrack this. She holds the mic up to his face and he says nothing, and then she takes it back. She says like Birdzilla, holds the mic up to him. He doesn't even respond. She takes the mic back. It's great.
And how do you think you feel?
Zilla.
Like Birdzilla.
No response.
All right, let's talk about Game 5 for a second. What was that like for you watching that? The Pacers had 16 rebounds, 21 second chance points, and you not being able to contribute.
It was tough watching. But now we're in Game 6. And I'm trying to get my mind right to get out there and compete. Put it into it.
All right, so much.
He did it again. She asked him another question. He's the whole time he's doing this, he's staring at, I'm telling you, he's staring at the camera, dead-eyed, just looking at the camera, not even looking at the chick. She asked him, this is the second time she asked him a question, holds the mic up to his face. He doesn't even respond. This is so good.
And I'm trying to get my mind right to get out there.
Listen to this question. Listen to the response.
Put it into it.
Yeah, your mind feeling right now.
No response.
All right, so much of your game requires energy getting up and down the court. How much do you think this injury may impact your ability to play and get back into a rhythm?
Well, Zilla feels no pain, and therefore I cannot allow that to be in my mind
He now refers to himself in the third person as Zilla.
when I'm out there competing at a high level.
You had 12 rebounds in game 2. That was the most rebounds you've ever had in a Heat playoff game. What's it like going up against this very physical Pacers front line?
Well, that was 4 games ago, and tonight is a new night. And it's my duty and my job to stay out there and get on the boards.
Ah, there you go. I just love his non-responses to her questions. So check that out. Maybe I'll remember. I swear I'll remember this. I will do a blog post at some point this weekend where I'll put all the videos up, the Birdman trifecta. You can watch the Mattress King commercial, him getting catfished, and the Birdzilla interview. Actually, no, you're right. I did already put this up. Check out the High Five Top 5 from today that I posted. If you check out the latest High Five Top 5 exploded.com, you'll be able to see all these videos that I played for you. And trust me, it is well worth your time checking it out. So there you go. It is, some Birdman stuff for you. I could not believe it when he showed up in the episode of Catfish I was watching. It was really it's kind of like a gift from the heavens. They were like, here's a gift for you. The Birdman on Catfish.